Hi guys, this is Connie, back for some more Connie Reads White Fragility. This is part 3 of chapter 3. This segment is titled Cultural Racism. The body of research about children and race demonstrates that white children develop a sense of white superiority as early as preschool. This early start shouldn't be surprising, as society sends constant messages that to be white is better than to be a person of color. Despite the claims of many white young adults that racism is in the past and that they were taught to see everyone as equal, research shows otherwise. For example, polls sponsored by MTV in 2014 show that millennials profess more tolerance and a deeper commitment to equality and fairness than previous generations did. At the same time, millennials are committed to an ideal of colorblindness that leaves them uncomfortable with and confused about race and opposed to measures to reduce racial inequality. Perhaps most significantly, 41% of white millennials believe that government pays too much attention to minorities. And 48% believe that discrimination against whites is as big a problem as discrimination against people of color. Many in this generation claim that the election of Barack Obama as president shows that we are post-racial. These polls were conducted before the presidency of Donald Trump, but as his election has made clear, we are far from being post-racial. Another significant study that was based on the practices of millennials rather than their claims was conducted by sociologists Leslie Pica and Joe Fiegin. I hope I'm not butchering these names, and if I am, I'm sorry. They asked 226 white college students at 28 colleges across the United States to keep journals and record every instance of racial issues, racial images, and racial understanding that they observed or were part of for 6 to 8 weeks. The students recorded more than 7,500 accounts of blatantly racist comments and actions by white people in their lives, friends, families, acquaintances, strangers. These accounts come from the generation most likely to claim they were taught to see everyone as equal, those who grew up in the age of colorblind ideology after the civil rights movement. Pica and Fagin's study provides empirical evidence that racism continues to be explicitly expressed by whites, even those who are young and profess to be progressive. Consider these examples from their study. Quote, "As I sit in a room with a bunch of frat guys, Phil walks in chanting, Rachi, Rachi, Rachi. I asked what that term means, and I am answered with a giggle and a quick, it's slang for nigger, like nigger Jirachi. I don't get it." A quote from a student named as Eileen. This next quote is from a student named Ashley. "Robbie was there telling a joke. He glanced to see if anyone was around. He starts, a black man, a Latin man, and a white guy find a magical lamp on the beach. Racist joke ensues. I thought it was pretty funny, and I wasn't the only one, but I'm glad he waited till no one was around to tell it. If you didn't know Robbie, you might misunderstand." Several common dynamics are illustrated in the thousands of examples Pica and Fagin collected. Fagin, it's a G-I-N, so I say gin. Fagin collected. The first is how much explicit racism young people are exposed to and participate in. The second is the idea that if someone is a good person, that person cannot be racist, as demonstrated in the student's note that if someone overheard, the person might misunderstand Robbie. This sort of racism makes for a very challenging dynamic in which whites are operating under the false assumption that we can't simultaneously be good people and participate in racism. At the same time, that we are dishonest about what we really think and do regarding people of color. The study also reveals a consistent pattern. The study also reveals that a consistent pattern in how these comments and actions were expressed. The majority of incidents occurred in what the researchers described as the backstage, in all-white company. Further, they found that whites involved in these incidents most often played predictable roles. Typically, there was a protagonist who initiated the racist act, a cheerleader who encouraged it through laughter or agreement, the spectators who stood in silence, and, very rarely, a dissenter who objected. Virtually all dissenters were subjected to a form of peer pressure in which they were told that it was only a joke and that they should lighten up. The researchers document that The researchers document that in front stage settings, those in which people of color were present, the white students displayed a range of racially conscious behaviors, including the following: acting overly nice, avoiding contact, e.g. crossing a street or not going to a particular bar or club, mimicking black mannerisms and speech, being careful not to use racial terms or labels, using code words to talk negatively about people of color, occasional violence directed at people of color. In backstage settings where people of color were not present, white students often used humor to reinforce racial stereotypes about people of color, particularly blacks. Pika and Fiagen argue that the purpose of these backstage performances is to create white solidarity and to reinforce the ideology of white and male supremacy. This behavior keeps racism circulating, albeit in less formal but perhaps more powerful ways than in the past. Today, we have a cultural norm that insists we hide our racism from people of color and deny it among ourselves, but not that we actually challenge it. In fact, we are socially penalized for challenging racism. I am often asked if I think the younger generation is less racist. No, I don't. In some ways, racism's adaptations over time are more sinister than concrete rules such as Jim Crow. The adaptations produce the same outcome. Keep people of color are blocked from moving forward, but have been put in place by a dominant white society that won't or can't admit to its beliefs. This transience results in another pillar of white fragility, the refusal to know. I hope I said that word right. This intransigence results in another pillar of white fragility, the refusal to know. And that's the end of chapter 3. Awesome. Be careful with that and enjoy, please and thank you. And I will see you in the next upload, hopefully with more Connie reads White Fragility. If I can get my words right. Connie can't read real well, but I can say that somehow. Have a great day.